What is up, everybody, and welcome to another video. In today's video, I wanted to talk about something that I thought you all might find a little bit interesting, actually. So currently, I'm in the middle of writing the review for the Titanium Crackerakin, and my script writing process is relatively interesting. And so I think I wanted to talk about sort of the bones of how I actually go about doing a review. And then also I wanted to ask for opinions on the Titanium Crackerakin and see what your thoughts are, because, well, I'm writing this review and I've noticed that the Titanium Crackerakin seems to be a Balisong that has a lot of people with a lot of opinions. Some people really like it, some people really don't like it, some people are just kind of mixed on it and mid. And so I'm really interested to see what your responses are, because I'm trying to kind of work a lot of different angles into this review, which is making it a tougher one to write, but at the same time, I think very good and balanced and just interesting in that way. So, how do I actually go about writing one of these reviews? Well, it's relatively straightforward. The process really starts with me going to visit a local coffee shop or whatever. I really like getting out of the house to write, because for me, with my ADHD and all that, it becomes kind of difficult for me to write at home, at least when it comes to the very beginning of the process. I'll usually sit down at my computer at the end of the process and actually write out the whole script. But when it comes to getting the ideas for the script and writing out the outline and whatnot, I'll normally do that out of the house. And I find that helps to sort of unlock a bit of my creativity and let me breathe a little bit more and just get out of my head, which I think is important for reviewing. So the other thing I'll do is I'll make sure I have a few things to compare it to. So today I didn't actually bring my case, but often I will bring a case of Balisongs to compare to whatever Balisong I'm currently reviewing. But today I just have the regular Crackerakin and the Tsunami, because I felt like those were two pretty good starting points in terms of comparison and figuring out how I actually feel about the Titanium Crackerakin. So I wanted to bring a couple things like that to really get my ideas going. And then once I had that figured out, then I'll move on to actually writing the script. So what I do is I write physically in a notebook. I really like using a notebook. Also, wow, this table is dirty as all heck. That's unfortunate. So I really like using a notebook because it allows me to do a lot of the work that I like doing physically. And I find that having that physical connection where I'm putting pen to paper kind of helps me get ideas out a little more consistently. Also, if you didn't know, I'm a huge nerd for fountain pens as well. I just really like the way that they work as an experience. This is the Lamy Safari with it's the premium Lamy Safari that has aluminum as the casing instead of plastic. And of course, it's a nice bright orange, and I have a very fancy bright orange ink as well that I use. So I just like having that sort of fancier tactile experience that can be given from using a fountain pen. It just makes the feeling of writing very satisfying. And for me, that helps kind of get the ideas out onto the page. The other thing is that I write in cursive a lot. My cursive is very hard to read. It's kind of like chicken scratch, but I can read it, and to me it's a very good way for me to write, because when I'm writing in cursive I can write faster, and so that helps me get the ideas out onto the page more quickly and consistently. And so I'm pretty active about writing in cursive, and then I'll write things out in just normal writing whenever I need to have something be obvious. So this first page is normally how I will set things up. So I'll start with one page, and that page is all sorts of stuff that's information for the rest of the review. So we're talking what are the prices of the various things? What are the specifications of everything? That's what I'm kind of looking for on this page. I'm not really looking for opinions necessarily. I'm just kind of doing some research and putting down some ground rules as to okay, so what is this thing? What are we working with here? And what I'll do is I'll then, on the next page, we're going to go look at that in just a second, I'll start to get into those opinions and feelings-based stuff, and then I'll kind of cross-reference between those two pages when I'm writing the actual outline. Okay, so next up, we have page 2, which this is all I've done today, but there will be more coming, and I'll probably make an update video to this in the future as I'm working on that. But number 2 becomes the feelings that I have. And so what I do is I kind of take a knife and I go and I'm like, okay, so now that I've written down all the specifications and everything that has to do with like what makes this knife what it is, now I want to look into how do I feel about the knife, because I think that is sort of the core of what a review even is, right? Is what are your feelings on something? And so what I'll do is I'll flip the Balisong and I'll just write down anything that I think. It doesn't have to be a complete thought. It doesn't have to be a good or bad thing. It just needs to be anything that I kind of think of, I will write down on this page. So I'll start writing down a bunch of different things like how do I feel about it? So the first thing I did is I wrote down just a bunch of different like thoughts I had. And all of those are just like, as I'm flipping it, you know, they're just stuff like, it's different from the original in both flipping, balance, and build. That's just one simple point that I, you know, wrote down. It's not a positive or a negative, it's just different. I like that it is sandwich. That's a simple one. I like the fact that it's sandwich. You know, so there's all sorts of small stuff like that. I really like the look of the flat hardware. There you go. That's like just other random stuff. I wish the weight system was more adjustable. Yeah, I wish the weight system was more adjustable. It's made of aluminum, so it's not super adjustable. I wish it was more adjustable. You know, so these are all like relatively low-level thoughts. They're all like really easy, straightforward stuff. There's nothing, I'm not really thinking too hard about it at this point. I'm just trying to kind of stream of consciousness get out what am I thinking about this thing, and what do others think about this thing? You know, I have other opinions on my mind as well during the writing of these things, and so I think it's very easy for me to... This method that I'm using, where I kind of like throw everything at the paper and see what sticks, is a method that I've come up with that really helps me and my ADHD when it comes to writing. If I try to... So I think, for instance, Brandon is... in general much better at writing than I am, at least when it comes to like fully just being able to write something without having to do too much beforehand. Brandon actually went to state at the UIL Scholastic competition back when we were in high school, which is a pretty big accomplishment. Brandon actually, like, I think he got first place in state under the writing course. There was one that was specifically for like writing essays based off of historical events, and so you would study a historical event for a long time, which is one of the reasons Brandon is a huge history buff. And you would study a historical event, and then you would be given a prompt about that event, and you would be asked to write an essay about that prompt. And you'd have to do that within like an hour, and it'd have to be like a full essay and everything. It was kind of crazy. Brandon was extremely good at that and is still very good at writing in that way. So he can kind of like take an idea and a prompt and then turn it into a full script relatively simply. For me, that's just not how that works. Like, I've tried that, but I end up with really sloppy scripts that end up going a lot of different places, and I kind of like run around in circles with my thoughts and all of that. And so I found that to make that process simpler, I need to make it more idiot-proof. So what I'm doing here is writing down like all of my feelings, and then next I'll be making a page where I take all of those feelings and I condense them down into bullet points. And I put those bullet points in an order. So that becomes my like, kind of like my top level outline. So we start with the specs, then we go to just throwing all of your feelings onto a page, and then we go to creating a list of bullet points that are like, here are the important things that I actually want to talk about. So now that I've gotten all my feelings out, which of those feelings are important to talk about, which ones are imperative to the review of the knife and discussing, you know, how it is and stuff like that. And then, once I've gotten those bullet points, I put them in order. So I figure out like, what order do I want to talk about these things? What flows naturally for the storyline of the review, that kind of stuff. And then, once I've gotten that, then I start writing the outline. That's the actual like script outline. And that'll be a sentence by sentence thing that is almost what I'm going to actually be writing on my computer for the script, but it's a little sloppier. So it's basically a like first run version with no editing of what the script should be. So I start with this very sloppy sort of just word vomit where I'm just putting a bunch of stuff on there. You can see I have these like different points at the top, and then I start actually getting into feelings after that. So I have like excited due to the cool design and new format. I literally ask myself the question, how does this thing make me feel? What am I feeling about this? I feel excited. I feel interested about the new flipping feel. I'm glad that they didn't just do a simple Chab type redesign. I'm glad that it's different and unique. I'm confused about the community response because there's so many different responses to what this thing is. I'm unsure about the price. You know, there's just a lot of different ways that this makes me feel, and those feelings are what I want to imbue into the final review. And so that's kind of why I'm spitting those out onto this page as well. So as I said, from there, I'll take this really sloppy thing and I'll turn that into the bullet points, and then the bullet points turn into the first draft of the script. That's basically just a handwritten outline, and usually those will be anywhere from 5 to 8 pages long, depending on how long the script is. Our longer videos are around the 8-page mark, and then 4 to 5 pages for simpler, more straightforward reviews. Honestly, I have a feeling this Balisong will be a simpler, more straightforward review, even though there seems to be a bit of like community disagreement over various aspects of it. For me, I think it's a relatively straightforward thing. Even though it is super unique, it is also still just an updated version of the Crackerakin in many ways, and so there's just a lot to it that I think is both good and bad, and I'm excited to keep writing the review. So after I've done all of that and I have that final like first draft that I've handwritten, I'll then take that draft and I'll go bring it to my computer, and I will actually write out the entire script. And so I'll use sentences from that first draft. I'll kind of go line by line and write out things. If I need to write more, I'll write more. If I need to remove stuff, I'll do that. That's basically where the like final editing process comes in, and that's how I get that really polished script. And for me, you know, compared to just like being able to write something straight out and being able to make it good from the first go, what I'm doing is sort of closer to the idea of like polishing a turd or polishing a dirt ball, which I don't know if you've seen on Mythbusters, but there's a Japanese practice where you actually take a ball of dirt or mud and you can polish it and actually make it shiny, which is crazy. And they did the same thing with a turd. But the whole idea behind all of those is that you basically take it step by step and slowly add more and more, you know, fine detail. You polish it a little bit more every day. You slightly change it over and over again with each step of the polishing process until finally at the end you actually get this beautiful, perfect sphere of dirt that is weirdly shiny. And I think that's kind of what I'm doing in this process. Is it's not necessarily that I'm able to like write a whole script just outright. I have to really take it step by step and start with the lowest end and just throw words at a paper and see what sticks. And then from there, I can work my way up into the final review and actually get some thoughts in order and, you know, get you something that maybe makes a little bit more sense than just, you know, what I wrote down initially. And that's the way that I'm able to write my reviews. It's a little bit of a weird process, I know, but for me, it's very helpful because otherwise I just can't get the ideas out as effectively as I want to. You know, I really want to make our reviews valuable. I want to make them funny. I want to make them interesting, but above all else, I want to make them good. I want to make them fair. I want to make them informational or informative. You know, I really want people to be able to take away something from our reviews or from our videos in general. And so that's what this kind of process helps me do, is it helps me be a little bit more focused by the final result as compared to if I was just trying to go straight from my brain to the final result. It just doesn't work as well. Whereas here I can go, okay, what am I trying to accomplish? You know, let's set out some goals. Let's figure out where we're going. Let's make a roadmap, and then let's slowly get there instead of just going straight forward. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Relatively simple one. Just thought I wanted to share a little bit of that today. But yeah, expect the titanium cracker-rackin' review in the near-ish future. It'll still take a while. As I said, I'm literally in the middle of writing it right now, so we haven't even filmed anything for it yet, but the review is coming, so yeah. And let me know if you have any thoughts on it. So anyways, see ya.